next item of business is to deliberate and act on the Lodgers Tax Board recommendation to terminate the existing MOU between the City of Raton and the Raton Chamber and propose a revised MOU for tourism coordinator. I think there's several of you that would like to address the board, and I'd like to handle this with a representative from the chamber and then a representative from the Lodgers Tax Board, and we'll go back and forth. When you come to the podium, please state your name, who you're representing, and go ahead and tell us what you'd like to say to us.
My name is H.M. Burleson. I'm president of the Raton Chamber of Commerce. I have a handout. Seems to be a popular thing to do. Probably nothing that you don't already know, but it might be good to have this information in front of you. Included in that packet is a report from the tourism coordinator, as well as a copy of the tourism portion of the proposed strategic plan, which is coming up for approval soon. It demonstrates the commitment of the chamber to that plan. Mayor and commissioners, thank you for your time. As you are aware, the City of Raton and the Chamber of Commerce have executed a Memorandum of Understanding, or MOU, which grants the Chamber the right to occupy the space in the Visitor Center and receive $2,500 a month from the city to provide for the services of a tourism coordinator. The tourism coordinator is currently a salaried employee of the Chamber and is paid based on a 40-hour work week. As an exempt employee of the Chamber, as an exempt employee, the tourism coordinator is not paid for any hours worked in excess of 40 hours. However, the tourism coordinator does receive limited benefits in terms of paid holidays, vacation, and sick time. As an employee of the Chamber, the tourism coordinator is hired by the Chamber of Commerce, by the Chamber Board of Directors. A management team consisting of 3 directors is responsible for the overall supervision of the tourism coordinator, and that management team selects an individual to serve as the direct supervisor for day-to-day operations. Under New Mexico law, the employment of the tourism coordinator may be terminated at any time by the Chamber Board without cause or for cause. When the supervisor became aware of inappropriate behavior on the part of the former tourism coordinator, the Board of Directors unanimously agreed that the only course of action remaining was to terminate the employment of the tourism coordinator. We immediately began advertising for a new tourism coordinator, and approximately 1 month later, a new tourism coordinator was hired. Fortunately, this new employee, Vivian Van Sweden, is a very quick learner, as well as being very enthusiastic about her position. Following the directions given to her, she has increased the number of people receiving the weekend return from 106 to 448. She took it upon herself to learn how to update the digital sign and began making periodic changes, so there were frequent changes to the message. She was able to regain access to the website and began adding current information. She is a frequent guest on This, That, and the Other program of our local KRTN radio station, giving the latest event happenings to local residents, and maintains a weekly on-the-air interview with the Las Vegas radio station, KFUN. In the last year, the Chamber spent approximately $6,000 of its own money to support the position of tourism coordinator. The previous tourism coordinator insisted that she had to have a new computer and a new copy machine in order to be able to do her job effectively. We complied by adding 2 new computers and a state-of-the-art copy machine. She also insisted that she had to have help in the office. We were able to add a second part-time employee to assist her through a program made available to us by the Goodwill Senior Community Service Employment Program. We complied with that request. Not making enough money was a consistent complaint that the previous tourism coordinator gave us. We gave her a 5% raise. We complied with that request. I personally told her many times that she was doing a good job and that the board appreciated her. The position was not terminated for failure to perform. It was terminated for insubordination. Any one of you in this room who has people on your payroll would have done the exact same thing. It was our obligation to act responsibly by taking this action. Moving on, there are several good reasons why the chamber needs to employ the tourism coordinator. First, when people want to find out about our city, the chamber is the first place they naturally contact. Communities even smaller than Raton have a chamber of commerce. When American Pickers wanted to get the word out to rural New Mexico, who did they contact? The chamber. Secondly, the chamber location to the visitor center provides a strategic advantage in terms of being immediately available to people who walk into the visitor center. The staff of the visitor center has an excellent relationship with the chamber and routinely encourages visitors to seek out additional information from the chamber. Another point is the chamber is uniquely designed so that it lends itself to the position of tourism coordinator and to the part-time employee. There's plenty of room for expansion. Finally, a good working relationship has been established with those putting on events in and around Raton. The tourism coordinator being at the chamber has become a focal point for seeing that information is gathered and distributed. The chamber board and the tourism coordinator are working to develop and to encourage cooperation with the business community that will accelerate the growth of Raton in both areas of economic development and tourism. I am not asking anything of the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board or the city commissioners, but to be allowed to continue to do the job that we agreed to do as set forth in the MOU. The termination of the MOU would be very disruptive and have disastrous consequences for both our current effort to attract tourists and for the chamber itself. We are willing to work with the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board to amend the current MOU or to develop an entirely new MOU. But we contend that proposed changes to the current MOU should be developed while the current MOU remains in place to provide for the sake of continuity. We urge you not to terminate the current MOU. Thank you for your time.
Did anyone have any questions? No? Okay.
My name's Thomas Angelon. I'm a member of the Lodgers Advisory Board. And the bottom line, the MOU does not have specifics giving the chamber the guidelines that need to be done. I have seen the chamber director in our meetings, but he has not addressed us. We are in process of drafting a new MOU, and I believe Mr. Phelan has emailed it to, and it's work in progress. I'm not against the chamber. I'm not against the chamber handling the tourism. What we want, what we need are guidelines that are firm, And we need to make sure that the few dollars that we bring in through the lodger's tax is adequately used. If the chamber can come up with a plan and help with this memorandum within the next 60 days, everything will be fine. But by law, from the time that you make your decision, they've got 60 days. Like I said, within that 60 days, if they come up to what we expect, then we could just, bring the new memorandum into play and then just work from there. As far as I'm concerned, the place for the tourism director has to be at the Welcome Center. Also, I believe that the tourism director should be an employee of the city of Raton. That is something that Raton desperately needs, and it should be an employee of Raton. Whether some of the lodger's tax money goes towards the operation or not, that's, my feelings. And that's all I have to say.
Would anyone else like to address?
Looks like both Tom and I are limping along tonight. My name's Paul Jenkins. I'm on the board of directors of the chamber. Have been since April 2013. We have not had good communication with the Lodgers Tax Board since the termination of the previous tourism coordinator. However, there has been communication. When previous tourism coordinator was terminated, an email was sent to Christine Valentini, who at that time was the secretary for the board, asking her to advise the board of the action taken. At the next meeting, which was in December, we presented a detailed fiscal analysis of the money spent for the previous fiscal year, including which showed that the chamber had invested close to $6,000 of its own money in addition to the $30,000 provided under the MOU. And also, as HM mentioned, we invested additional monies to provide for 2 new computers and a state-of-the-art copy print machine. The contention has never been that the former tourism coordinator was not doing her job. She was terminated for cause for insubordination. And we feel that this action by the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board is both inappropriate and unreasonable. To expect the current tourism, well, let me put it this way. Should you choose to terminate the agreement tonight, we are morally obligated to tell the current tourism coordinator that her job will terminate in 60 days. It's unreasonable to expect her to hang in there while the Lodgers Tax Board and the chamber struggle to come up with a new MOU, and I think puts unwarranted pressure on both parties to come up with a document that will be satisfactory. It would be very disruptive. We currently have many things going on that are promoting tourism for the city of Raton, and to pull the plug on that operation, we cannot guarantee how long our tourism coordinator would remain in place before she would start looking for a new job. And if you terminate the agreement, in the absence of some formal assurance by the commission, we would need to begin planning to terminate or to vacate our offices in the visitor center, because that is a part of the agreement. We hope that you will recognize that there is a different way, a more reasonable way, a less disruptive way to solve this problem. And that is to have the Lodgers Tax Board and the Chamber Board negotiate the terms for either an amendment to the logic, to the current memorandum, or to craft an entirely new memorandum. However, to terminate the agreement while that, and then ask those actions to take place is not the best solution. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Deborah?
Hi, I'm Deborah Harris with Gilways Southwest Realty, and I'm also on the board for our Economic Development Corporation, Grow Raton. We've been working hard recently to have new goals for 2015 to start having more collaboration between all these different entities in our community to work for the best of the community. I'm really speaking for the community now. I'm not speaking for that person that wants that position back as a coordinator, which I think all of us know what triggered this whole thing, because that person got fired and wants that position back and is looking for some way to get back into that position. And I'm not representing anybody for the lodger's tax. I'm not representing anybody for the city, and I'm not representing the chamber, other than that in research that we've been doing to help communicate to the public the difference between Economic Development Corporation and the difference between a chamber, the difference between having our Main Street group. We have a plan set out where we're going to do communication to the public to differentiate between those different groups and try to work together for one goal. Over the years, first 10 years, I kind of missed out on what was happening internally in the city because I was raising children and trying to support them. Now I'm down to one child, so I'm more, in the last 5 years, I've been more involved. In those 5 years, there seems to be a tendency of one individual or a group of people that kind of stir the waters, and instead of moving forward, we keep stepping back. We're in a really critical time right now. The economy has been very tough, as a lot of people know. I personally have, and I'm a CPA before I was a realtor, have been analyzing my own financials to see in numbers what has happened here. Year before last, 2013, my income went down, my gross receipts went down from where it was to 1/3 of what it was. Last year, I went back up a little bit. There was a sign that there's been some things happening. I'm happy to say I have a new business coming that hopefully will help bring they do trade shows, and they're going to try to help bring some trade shows here. I've just now, this week, started helping moving a new business here that is a horse rescue operation. I'm not part of the chamber other than a member, and like I said, I am part of Grow Raton, but my business itself helps bring people here, and I work really hard at it, because if it doesn't change, I can't stay here. I have lost my home. I have lost my place of business. I'm still here, and it's embarrassing what has happened in the economic to me, and I did start to leave, but my son and I made a decision to, what we say, ride the wave. I am disillusioned that there's constant conflict. I think all of us know what triggered all this. It isn't just hearsay. There's a person that lost her job, would like to have that job back, and if she can't have it that way, we're going to try to do it this way. Chamber, we cannot do without a chamber. I have been doing the research before this happened, and I had some statistics. The New Mexico Business Directory for the chamberofcommerce.com has 352 listings of communities in New Mexico. 40 of the top cities include Raton. If we do not do something to make sure we have a chamber, it isn't I guess the way I want to put it is these battles between these city entities need to stop. There needs to be unity for Raton to survive. Decisions that affect the well-being of the entire community cannot be based on one individual or small group, desires of what they want and what they need. It has to be for the community as a whole. People outside of Raton that are travelers, visitors, prospective residents expect us to have a chamber, whether it functions or not, whether the city supports it or not. They're counting on that we have a chamber. We lost our newspaper. We're trying to regroup from that, but that was a major blow to not have our newspaper in this town. And we keep having one more blow. The chamber has had its struggles, but right now, whatever decisions get made on this whole conflict between the lodger's tax, and I'm not an expert on how this is all handled, but whatever the city has to do to help make this chamber keep going, it's for the betterment of the whole community. Because that's what's gonna help keep checking on our community. That is who you call. I have made phone calls from Iowa, where I came from, to find out how those cities were doing it, where I came from, and this was before this happened. It's for the research. We're doing a lot of work in Grow Raton to help educate. And any town that's surviving out there has a chamber. So we need continuity. And there isn't enough businesses probably to contribute enough in our membership to keep an employee there. But that employee is as important as any employee of the city, because that's where those phone calls are coming in. That's where those people are coming. And they're the ones that are sending out this data for the businesses that are here. Grow Raton, we're here to help keep the businesses going that are here, educate. We have a whole bunch of plans set for 2015. A lot of pressures on me, because if I can sell one of the properties that we have, we'll have enough money to open an office, and we have plans. So right now, there's a lot of pressure for me to get this property sold. So I guess I'm speaking for the community. I would like to see this community to survive. I would like to see it prosper. But we need some continuity. We need to have less. We cannot create the wheel and do something new right now. We kind of need to just keep going like we are, do everything we can to keep all those different segments, entities going, and have less battles between the different entities. So do whatever you can to keep that chamber going. Thank you. And I do have some literature if you want some definitions of a chamber. This was one more important thing. This comes from the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives. A chamber is an organization of businesses seeking to further their collective interests while advancing their community, region, state, or nation. Business owners in towns, cities, and other territories voluntarily from those local societies and networks to advocate on behalf of the community at large, economic prosperity, and business interest. Chambers have existed in the U.S. for more than 2 centuries. Chamber missions vary, but they all tend to focus on 5 primary goals: building communities to which residents, visitors, and investors are attracted, promoting those communities, striving to ensure future prosperity via a pro-business climate, representing the unified voice of the employer community, and reducing transactional friction through well-functioning networks. So let's become well-functioning, okay?
Is there anyone else here that's representing the Lodgers Tax Board?
My name's Thomas Angeli, member of the Lodgers Board. We are not here to eliminate the chamber. What we want is the memorandum fixed. It needs to be fixed. We need specific guidelines. As it stands, I don't know if we're going to meet our goal for this fiscal year for lodger's tax. You know, business has been down. But I want to make it plain. We do not want to eliminate the chamber. If the chamber has something that they want to advertise, all they have to do is go see the city clerk, fill out the proper paperwork, submit it to us, and we will make a recommendation to this city commission. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Patel?
No.
No?
My name is Brijesh Patel, and actually, I represent both boards, the Lodgers Tax Board and, the other chamber. So I'm not giving any biased opinion about anything. I'm just saying this, that I'm new to both boards, and I feel like, all these things are triggered because somebody was let go. Otherwise, never ever anything has happened before of lodgers tax asking chamber what are the guidelines, what are the metrics, how you do the job, give me any feedback about what you guys are doing. There was a communication, but probably it's not in writing somewhere. So I feel that both board needs to work together. There has to be guidelines. MOU needs to continue. Of course, there has to be some metrics which says that, you need to do this, 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 and this, rather than terminating the MOU. That is what my point of view is. Okay. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the board at this time? The commission?
I would like to say something. I got involved with this, and I'm talking to the rest of my fellow commissioners. I got involved in this on October 16th, when I was informed that the person was let go, and I was asked by some constituents that this shouldn't have happened. Well, when I went and checked, I found out that she was terminated for insubordination. That was the only thing. So I went back to them. That's the right of the board of directors, their employee. Okay, meanwhile, all this stuff has happened, so I started looking into it, and I got the memorandum of understanding, the current one. Personally, I think it's a little weak. I really do. It doesn't stipulate a lot of things in there. So what I would propose, and to my fellow commissioners tonight, and to the people out there, is that we do not terminate this memorandum tonight. What I would like to see, rather that it be tabled, and ask that the board of directors and of the chamber and the lodgers tax, that you guys sit down together within the next 30 days and iron out everything and come up with a new memorandum of understanding, not terminated, but amended. I would like to see it amended so that we have these things that need to be said in the thing. Nobody here, I don't think, on this commission is advocating that we lose a Chamber of Commerce. The city of Raton needs a Chamber of Commerce. It really does. And now this is my opinion. This is what I feel. I feel that we should table it for now with the stipulation that both of the entities get together with the city also, and we iron out some amendments to the memorandum of understanding and try to alleviate these problems. Everybody here seems to want the same thing. Everybody here seems to want the betterment of Raton. But we need to stop the quarreling and the fighting. And I would like to see, if the commission would agree with me tonight, that we table this and table it with the fact that we'll give the entities to meet with the city officials and both entities and come up with some amendments to this memorandum of understanding that would help everybody and move us forward. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Chavez. It sounds to me like, everybody wants to work together. We're all adults here. There shouldn't be no bickering or fighting. And I myself also reviewed the MOU. And it's weak. It needs a little bit of teeth in there so somebody can have some guidelines. And also, I mean, myself, whenever you have meetings like this, there should be a time to report to each other. And I don't know if the reporting has been lax in the past, but I'm a person for a plan. And if you don't have a plan to guide somebody, you know, you're in turmoil. So I agree with Mr. Chavez that you need to get together, maybe use Mr. Scott Berry, the city manager, get him involved also. That's my recommendation.
I would agree with both of the commissioners that have spoken. And as I recall, I was at the meeting when the lodger's tax was creating their budget. And one of the first things they said was, we want to have a coordinator or an executive director, whatever you want to call the position, at the Chamber of Commerce. We think this is important enough that we want to budget so much money to make this happen. And the first memorandum of understanding that came to us had some things in it that I didn't think were appropriate for lodger's tax to be paying for. And so that was removed. If people want more specifics, I'd say give them more specifics. And I would not agree to terminate the MOU. I would agree to amend it. And I agree with both Mr. Chavez and Mr. Giacomo that there needs to be a sit down between the city, the Lodgers Tax Board, and the Chamber of Commerce and work this out so it's agreeable to all three parties. The city has really nothing to do with the Chamber of Commerce directly, except that we approved the funding for it. They are a separate board. They're entitled to hire and fire whoever they want and carry on the business of the city as long as they do the promotional part. That's all I have to say.
Just tacking on, Madam Mayor, I'd say, as Ms. Wright pointed out, the Chamber of Commerce is an organization of businesses. I've got one question, I guess, Mr. Burleson. What's the percentage of business owners in town that do belong to the Chamber?
Percentage-wise, I'm not certain, because I don't know how many businesses there are. It comes and goes, and it's flexible, and the last time we did a calculation, I'm sure it's changed, but we have about 140 members.
140 members, okay. And another thing, as Mayor Maz pointed out, you know, we are responsible for the budget of the Lodgers Tax Board and the funding and that. I've now been a commissioner for over 4 years, and I have never seen any kind of financial statement from the Chamber of Commerce on where the money is going exactly. I would like to start seeing some financial statements. Can we, if we work on this MOU and that, can we get an assurance from you all that that will come before the commission?
Absolutely. We do give a financial to the lodger's tax on a quarterly basis.
Okay? Hasn't reached my desk yet. That's all, but I would just echo what Commissioner Chavez and the rest of the commissioners have said. It does no good to terminate the MOU at this time. We need to sit down, iron it out, and work together.
The only other comment I would have is if you're giving specific guidelines, you're going to have to come up with some kind of a system of accountability to know if these guidelines are being met. And they need to be reported to the Lodgers Tax Board.
Mayor and Commission, I guess from the perspective of the staff, I guess we would like some input into, there is an amount stated in the MOU. It really doesn't specify what is an eligible expense would be, if that's strictly for salaries or personnel services or other expenses. So we'd like maybe your input or clarification on that. There really is not in the MOU a reporting requirement as far as a financial report. There is in the state statute, and it is a minimum of quarterly, but we would formalize that in a new agreement as to those reporting requirements. And that's, I think we're in the ballpark right now, and we'll get you that latest financial statement, but that's something that we could improve, is the timeliness of that financial reporting. And definitely that would come to the commission.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I don't know this to be a point of information. In some of the emails that went back and forth today, the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board appears to be handicapped by the requirement that they do things through open meetings. I had asked if Michael Lang would look into whether or not the chair of the board has the prerogative to appoint a committee without necessarily having to wait until the next meeting of the Lodgers Tax Board and do that in open session. Because that will very much delay this process.
I don't know if you have any information on that, on whether that would be.
Mayor and Commission, the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board is a city board appointed by this commission, and there are several restrictions on what they can do. They cannot meet in closed session except for the same limitations that the commission would have. And I don't think any of those limitations would apply here. Essentially, they cannot meet in a closed session with the chamber. There cannot be a quorum held then at a meeting unless that is, if there was a quorum of the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board meeting, that would be properly advertised, public noticed, and a public meeting, and that can happen. There's not a reason that we can't have a public meeting in that regard. But on the other hand, the Lodgers Tax Board can send a representative, and we have offered this. We can meet in my office with a representative or two designated representatives from that board, and they could represent the consensus of the Lodgers Tax Board. So we have to be careful that we don't in any way touch on that rolling quorum issue, but they could have representation there. But that would be with the staff present, and additionally, the commission could appoint a representative to monitor that progress as well. But what I would suggest is that the both bodies, the Lodgers Tax Board and the commission, give some direction to the staff as far as really sitting down and working on a draft of an MOU, and then that MOU would go to both bodies in a public meeting for their review and comment on that.
I have nothing more. Is there any more discussion? Therefore, I'd like to make a motion that the Board of the Chamber does not terminate the existing MOU between the City of Raton and the Raton Chamber until such time that we can sit down and iron out the details of both parties getting together and make some amendments to the MOU.
Second that motion, we table.
We have a motion and a second that the memorandum of understanding between the City of Raton and the Raton Chamber and Economic Development Council Incorporated, doing business as the Raton Chamber, be postponed until such time as the amendment to the MOU can be ironed out between the three entities, the city, the chamber, and the Lodgers Tax Board. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Chavez?
Yes.
Commissioner Giacomo?
Yes.
Commissioner Schuster?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sagada?
Yes.
Mayor Mance?
Yes. item of business is deliberate and act on CCJJ CAB budget adjustment.
Good evening, City of Raton Commissioners, Mayor, and City Manager. My name is Danielle Esparza, Colfax County Juvenile Justice Continuum Coordinator. I'm here with our first bar adjustment after being 7 months into our fiscal grant year. These are the necessary adjustments. It has been made by Colfax County Juvenile Justice Continuum Advisory Board, Executive Board members. And I'd just like to go over the line items real quick. If you look at 001, that's what the city pays out to the coordinator. Under the guidelines of CYFD, they shared with us that it is negligent to change that. At this point, they granted what they found was going to be sustainable towards our programs for this year. And so there will be no changes to line item 001. And then in 002, what we did is we decreased as much as we could from the supplies to increase into our Girls Circle programs to supply services to the participants. Our referrals are up by 50%. That is in our justification. We had previously asked for $20,000 in the application. It wasn't granted. But with this change, it would be essential due to the fact that it will allocate more monies into the programs. Also, line item 003, Boys Council, we're increasing by $5,054.72. And restorative justice would be decreased due to the numbers being down right now. The executive board members felt that it would be sustainable to increase into the programs where there is need. And then as far as travel, there is one slight difference in this. We've decreased as much as we could possible to cover 1,000 of what was already, how do you say, it was already used year to date. So therefore, it would be my responsibility for the next upcoming continuum meetings not to ask for any kind of travel reimbursement from the City of Raton. The expense would be allocated to myself, and that was shared too in regards with CYFD also, and everyone respected that. We're all in agreement for future travel. So with those changes, our amended budget stays the same at $72,000 and just increases into our programs. Is there any questions? Thank you all.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve this budget adjustment for the CCJJCAB.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the budget adjustments for CCJJ CAP budget. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Our next item of business is deliberate and act on lodgers, we've already done H. I'm sorry.
It's all right, I had it
City
too.
manager's report.
Mayor and Commission, just to update you on activity on Amtrak. It looks like the way this discussion is heading is that New Mexico is pursuing Tiger Grant funding, as has happened in some of the other states, and it looks like there may be some opportunity to get funding through Tiger Grant that really works through local sponsorship of that application. So Commissioner Sabel is very active and I think kind of leading the group, but we're basically talking about in the way of local sponsorship, City of Raton, Colfax County, City of Las Vegas, and San Miguel County as working together to make that happen. And I would anticipate that there would be a request for some level of funding that would come to the City Commission as this thing moves through. Now, there was an opportunity for the state to really fund that portion of it that was identified through a deal with the railroad and Amtrak. However, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So it looks like the Tiger Grant opportunity is the way that this would work. So we'll report back to you as that moves along.
I know we have Representative Roush on a board. Do you know where Senator Campos stands on this?
Well, I think Senator Campos would definitely be a strong supporter. Amtrak and one of our best advocates. But as far as just a capital outlay or an appropriation covering that, and we're probably talking about $4 million a year for some period, that doesn't look like it's in the cards in the current term.
What I'm alluding to is that in order for your Tiger grant to even be considered, you've got to have both of your legislators
And
on board.
I'm sure that both Representative Roche and Senator Campos will be strong supporters of that action. I would like to update you on what's going on with the educational building, formerly the Highlands building. And so I had met with John Davidson, and there's some discussion going on with Highlands as far as bringing that agreement to the commission. And we had concurred on going back to Highlands with a request that they issue a special warranty deed to the city of Raton in lieu of a quitclaim deed, and then maybe limit any covenants that might be on that to a 5-year period, basically that it would be used for an educational facility. And then a meeting was held, I believe, on Friday, and I was at another meeting. So Commissioner Schuster did attend that, and I would like to ask Commissioner Schuster to update us on that meeting.
Basically, what was discussed was the creation of a board for the educational center. The current the old educational center board is not completely functional, and so there's a need for a new board for this project. So there were ideas thrown out of who would be on that board. Obviously, a city representative from the commission, the hospital, possibly the school districts or the High Plains REC board, not the REC itself. They're looking at also hiring a coordinator. The educational board, previous board, has a remainder of $71,000 that they will put toward initially hiring a coordinator for the project. The idea is that at least a good portion of that position should be covered by the supporting educational stakeholders, right? And that Trinidad State is, of course, very interested, and they want to approach Trinidad State into being the main person to hire, or entity to hire that coordinator in order to provide insurance and other benefits for that position. So those are the things discussed. Mr. Davidson has set a meeting with Trinidad State for February 18th at 10 a.m. And they'll discuss those details, and that's pretty much about it.
At this building itself, is that where the meeting?
The meeting is going to be in Trinidad at the college office.
In Trinidad, okay.
Yeah. But I did by chance meet with the retired president of Trinidad State over the weekend, and she's been talking with the current administration, and they're very excited and hopeful in making it work.
One thing that was brought to at least my attention by Senator Roche, and somebody needs to investigate it, is whether or not there'll be a problem of the state of New Mexico paying the state of Colorado.
Right, and I think that's something that definitely needs to be investigated and put forth, and I think Senator Roche suggested that there be some type of MOU with the college, given that they'll be providing services in the state, and so there could be an MOU with the state.
Yeah, just so we know that's all cleared up.
Right.
And then today, Vince stopped me on the way into the grocery store and said that if the county and the city and whoever else has a vested interest in this would take care of the administrative cost, that Highlands would be willing to come and teach here. But they can't handle the administrative cost.
Hey, we appreciate that offer.
Yeah, you bet.
Mayor,
Pass it on.
Mayor and Commission, I did attend the airport managers meeting that was held at the Sunport in Albuquerque on Friday, the 23rd. That I attended with two representatives of Express Aviation. We did get a chance to talk to people from State Aviation Department and Moles and Corbin, our consulting engineer on the airport. And the projects that we're looking at are improvements to a remaining fuel tank that's old. And you'll remember a couple of years ago, we replaced the two primary fuel tanks, but there is one fuel tank that's been there 25 or 30 years that is substandard. And we do have a bad report on that from the Environment Department. So we're looking at funding to replace that. Also begin construction of a cattle guard, and there's been an issue with wildlife walking right in the gate. And so we have a high game fence around the perimeter, but they do walk right in and out of the gate. So that would add that cattle guard, and it's of course a big concern having wildlife close to the runway. We would clear that up and eliminate that concern. And then lastly, rehabilitation of the Alpha taxiway, the taxiway on runway 220. So that's a larger project. Probably what we would do with Federal Aviation Administration is request design money in the upcoming cycle, and then the following cycle look at construction money. So that's something we'll be thinking about. I did schedule a meeting for Friday afternoon with Ryan Flynn. He's the Cabinet Secretary of the Environment Department, and I did send him some correspondence, and we are going to request that he assist us in a capital outlay of $500,000 that would go towards our transfer station recycling center. Our offer is that we anticipate the cost of that would be $1 million. We would bring our $500,000 out of the $1 million that the commission had financed previously, and we would ask for the administration to support us in $500,000 outlay. So I will meet with him Friday afternoon. We also have scheduled a meeting with the Lieutenant Governor, John Sanchez, on Tuesday morning, February 3rd, and we'll discuss that at his office as well, and economic development. And I would state there that I did meet with Tim Hegeman. He's a representative from New Mexico Economic Development Department, and we talked about this as far as being the number one priority on our infrastructure capital improvement plan. And so thank you, Tim. I think he offered to also give us his assistance in regard to meeting this important priority. And I think what we're representing is the importance is we need to construct this transfer station during 2015. We really are using facilities that were designed economically to work on a temporary basis, and we really need to get this facility constructed and move to it as quickly as we can. So if we did not have the full funding, we're going to need to reduce the design and compromise the design of this structure and get it built. We just need to move from where we're at currently. I would remind the commission and the public that Colfax County Day legislative reception is scheduled for Thursday, February 12th, as you had pointed out at the beginning of the meeting, Mayor. It's going to be held at La Fonda on the Plaza in Santa Fe, and the hours are 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The city of Raton is a co-sponsor of that legislative reception. So you have a little bit of funding on that, $500.
Yes, and we approved the adjustment last
Didn't it?
meeting, I believe.
If you would, for those commissioners, and on the next item, just kind of work with Tricia here as far as having the registration in order for that, and she'll tell you what to do as far as, your expenses, motel and that. New Mexico Municipal League sponsors a Municipal Day, which we also talked about earlier, but just to remind you that the reception is scheduled at 6 p.m. on February 24th, again at the La Fonda in Santa Fe on the plaza, and then all day during the 25th. And that is really I think an important and useful conference that they have, where they talk about the legislative priorities of the Municipal League. And of course, the Municipal League works on those priorities throughout the year, and then they're very active during the legislature as far as communicating those to the elected officials. So that's a good one to attend.
Yeah. I talked to Regina Romero on the Municipal League. On the 25th, it's going to be from in the morning till noon, and then they're going to turn us loose to the
seniors.
senators and stuff.
Okay.
So
Yeah, right
we
after
won't
lunch.
spend a whole day with the league, just until noon.
Right.
And
The reception the night before.
Yeah.
So I think it really goes from 10 a.m. to noon then. 10 a.m.
Well,
would
they
be the
serve a
starting.
lunch, and in years past, the governor has
The governor
spoken
has
during
spoken.
lunch, so let's see.
Just a report on what we've been working on. The building and Parks Department have, during the cold months, they combined some workforces to do some of the priority projects. So we've had a plumbing issue at the senior center, and we've had some crew working down there, as well as a plumber. They will begin on replacing some flooring at the library. They've continued on some interior painting of city buildings, and we would look forward to starting on some prep work as far as parks and some of the outdoor projects that'll be coming up in the warmer weather. So we have, some outdoor painting to do and some facilities to get ready for the summer. We also had the crew doing projects in the shop, such as building barricades that we use in street improvement projects. And when necessary, we take the whole crew and put them on snow and ice control. And we've had some weather where they've spent days at a time working on snow and ice control. Also in Public Works, they do the same thing. Yesterday we did have them working on some of the downtown streets where you get that south side of the curb and gutter. It's in the shade all day, and it just doesn't melt. So we've been trying, since we had a couple of warm days, trying to clear that up a little bit, and I think we've had some success, but that south side of the curb and gutter is pretty tough when it doesn't get any sun. So we've worked on that. We're going to begin working on some of the drainage channels that we have around town. There's a list of projects that we need to do, really as a follow-up to some of the rain that we had got, not only last year, but really in previous years. So we're going to be working on that probably starting next week, and then really going through the spring. Quite a bit of work to do there. The Public Works crew will be trying to replace some signage that is substandard or missing. We'll be going around town looking for that. When it warms up a little bit, we'll get back to the repair of potholes. And of course, if we get this weather, those potholes really grow. So as soon as we get a little warm weather and the conditions are right, we'll be working on that. We had ordered permanent stop signs for that intersection at the post office. We will be taking down the signal light and replacing the temporary stop signs with permanent stop signs. I've monitored that pretty closely since we turned off the signal light. I myself have not seen any real issues there, or we haven't had reports of any issues there. So from what I know so far, it looks like it's working fairly well.
I've had 4 phone calls thanking you for doing it.
I've had some comments that were happy that happened, yes.
Is there a sign for the speeding, what the speed limit is coming down that hill?
That's one of those signs that we need to
And on Cook
review.
also.
Right, yeah.
People fly down
Yeah,
the street.
there's a couple areas where we get reports of some speeding going on, and then we talk to the police department about trying to patrol that and make sure it's signed appropriately. So we're reviewing some of the signage.
Yeah, and that's fine. I don't care if they fly down the hill. I'm afraid that somebody's gonna get hit. Some
Right.
old person like me.
Right, yeah. And in some places like that, that also includes some pavement markings. So I think we want to review, how we're doing on pavement markings at certain places where we have pedestrian traffic, schools, post office, those kind of things. So we'll be looking at that as well. I did have a discussion with some representatives of the Federal Highway Administration in regard to the multimodal project. We did an assessment on where we're at, and you'll remember that bids were taken for construction of the multimodal project. We have roughly about $1 million for construction of the project. We got one bid, and it came in at $1.4 million, and the commission rejected that bid. So we agreed on rebidding the project. That will be going out to bid. We had conversation with Bohannon Houston. They'll repackage that deal so that it is competitive and we get more than one bid. And I think if it is competitive, we'll see it come in a lot closer to the project funds, number one. We'll structure it where we have deductive alternates, where if we have to remove some landscaping or do something different on a structure, we can do that to bring it in on the money. I would anticipate that we'll bring it to the commission for award on March 24th. So we'll be working on some design, bid package, and bidding in the meantime. That's all I have, Mayor, Commissioner.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions of the city manager? Is there anyone else who would like to address this commission? Seeing none, meeting adjourned.